All right, welcome back to another episode of Keys to Currency. Today, I got someone real special, guys. I got somebody who is an up-and-comer. She is a young gun. She is doing some damage out here in the entrepreneurship world. I have Miss Alexis Morgan. Alexis, how are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for having me, Justice.
I'm excited to have this interview. You were somebody that a lot of people have been keeping their eyes on.
Yep.
I know when I first seen you was at Carl Allen's last business mastermind in Atlanta,
hmm
right? And I want you to go through and tell me a little bit about your background and how you got into entrepreneurship.
Yep, of course. So, ironically, my dad's an entrepreneur. So, it was always in my realm. My mom has a W 2. She's always had a W 2. But my dad has always been an entrepreneur. They divorced when I was young. But, seeing my dad and seeing my mom and how they live such different lifestyles, obviously my dad's was a lot more fun. So I was like, man, well, how do I achieve that lifestyle? And he never got out of the owner operator role, but he opened my eyes to entrepreneurship. And I would work in his business, whether it be collecting invoices or sending out messages, organizing, who was working in the business. I was always, my eyes were open to how it looked to run a business for sure. And really throughout high school, always had an entrepreneur spirit from him. Me and my brother, we wholesaled candy all throughout middle school and high school just to make money. Only ever had one job, Chipotle. Only ever time I trade my time for money. And other than that, I've always been into business and into creating money from thin air. It's been really fun experience watching my dad do it and then being able to implement it myself.
So the foundation came from your father.
Yep.
So what was your first endeavor into entrepreneurship? Like, what was the first thing you did that you got into?
Like professionally or just like streetwise? Okay, streetwise, it was in middle school. Me and my brother would go to Sam's Club and buy wholesale, like big, huge packs of candy. And we would take our book bags and any lunch boxes we had and go and sell the candy, flip it for $1 or two more than what we bought it for. And just like the individual ones, you get a deal at Sam's and then we'd sell each packet for like $1. We'd collect all the money at the end of the week. We felt like we were so rich. We'd be literally in the bathroom mirror together, like, let's go. And then, at one point I had ran out of candy. So I made Rice Krispie treats at home. This was the sweat equity portion. With flipping, it's easy. But I'd made Rice Krispie treats at home. And I remember my first experience with marketing. It was Valentine's Day. And I dyed the Rice Krispie treats pink and I cut them into hearts. And I stood out at the front of the school and I sold out in like 10 minutes. It was amazing. I felt so wealthy. But professionally, it was wholesaling real estate. After I graduated high school, I went to college, and it just wasn't really a good fit. I was going to be an engineer, and I was looking at the trajectory of where that degree would take me, and considering what I had seen from my dad, it just wasn't a good fit for the lifestyle that I wanted. So during Corona, wholesaling real estate came up on my YouTube recommendations. I fell in love with it. And I saw people like Max Maxwell, Jerry Norton, and I was like, these guys look like they know what they're doing. If they can do it, I can do it. And I pretty much, I did a leave of absence, cold turkey, and went all in on wholesaling real estate.
What was that journey like when you got into real estate wholesaling?
Yep. So the first thing that I did was go to a meetup. I knew, somehow I had this understanding that I wasn't going to do it alone. I knew that if I wanted to do it and do it right, I needed to get around people who were already doing it. So I literally got back to Orlando from Georgia Tech. I went to Georgia Tech in Atlanta, drove back to Orlando, and the next day I was on my computer, Orlando real estate investing meetups, going there, shaking hands, smiling, telling people what I wanted to do, asking what they do to see where I could fit in and add value. And the first opportunity that I had was to work for someone. So there's a big investor in Central Florida who was hiring acquisitions. At that meetup, I met him and I was like, hey, listen, if you are willing to teach me, I'll make you a lot of money. And that's exactly what I said. And he taught me acquisitions, closing deals over the phone. And in 3 months, I closed 26 deals for his company.
26 deals.
Yep. I mean, it was so much fun. That's when I knew that I love sales.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so you started by working for somebody else.
Yep.
At what point do you jump out and you're like, listen, I know what to do.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this on my own.
Yeah. So I was commission only in that position. And after 3 months, I was like, okay, I got a feeling for how this works. And I started marketing on my own. And I was like, okay, this is how you get a deal. This is how you talk to sellers. And a friend of mine, his name's David, he invited me to one of his appointments. He knew the guy I was working for, and I was closing a ton of deals. There was always social media around the deals that were closed. And he was like, hey, you're a closer. I don't know how to close, but I have this really hot lead. Come on my appointment. And that was the first deal that I ever did on my own. It was like a $5,000 assignment. And once I got that, it was actually like a conflict of interest at the company. So I was like, well, I didn't drop out to work for someone. Let's go. Like, this is the opportunity. And I was pretty much like, let's go. But the problem that I found is that I knew how to sell, but I didn't know how to market that well. And I ran into like this 3 months of, who do I call? How do I get in touch with leads? Because I knew exactly what to say once I had a hot lead. I know the sales process, but I didn't understand how to get leads. And that's how I fell into door knocking, because I was like, I just need to spit. Like, if I can get in front of someone, I can get a deal. If I can get in front of someone who has a little bit of pain, I can get a deal. But yeah, it's wholesaling. That's the story around it.
How long did that journey last with doing real estate wholesaling by yourself?
So I was doing wholesaling alone from March to November. March to November. So I guess that's like, I don't know, 10 months? Okay. Maybe a little less. My math's not that good.
So we're at a business buying mastermind right now.
Yeah.
Right? Obviously, the whole theme is about buying businesses. You have transitioned from real estate wholesaling to acquiring businesses now.
Absolutely.
Why is that?
The opportunity. It's like you don't know what you don't know, right? And when I got in that room with Abraham Gray and Carl Allen in November, they blew my mind. I mean, to see that there's this is a huge market. You have the leverage. So with wholesaling, anyone who's wholesaling knows there's 5 other people calling your seller. When you're buying a business, these people, you have the leverage. You can create the terms that you want. You can kind of finesse the price that you want, because no one's doing it. And if you can step into cash flow on day one, rather than having to figure out, how do I build a customer list? How do I sell this? What product is the right fit for the market? If you can step into cash flow on day one and have the leverage when you're acquiring that cash flow, it was a no-brainer. It was a no-brainer.
So where are we at in the process right now? Are you close to any business? Have you bought a business?
Yeah, funny enough, I just closed the consulting for equity deal at lunch. What? Yeah. Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, so when I joined Carl Allen's mentorship, the first month was like largely drinking from a fire hose. I was like, oh my God, this new world, totally a new learning curve. So it took me about a month to get adjusted to the verbiage and the terminology and just what it meant to buy a business. After that, I had to get clear on what industry I wanted to target. So there's tons of business. I mean, everything's a business. The table, the computer, the cameras, everything. It's so hard at the beginning when you get exposed to this information. It can be overwhelming to choose, what do I want to pursue? So for me, especially coming from wholesale, I was like, okay, what is my expertise in? Real estate, but kind of, I never flipped a house. So at first I was like HVAC, and then I was like, it's not really me. I'm not a contractor. And it came down to just being in the service industry and realizing that what I did in real estate was provide a service, provide a peace of mind for the sellers that I worked with. And from there, I kind of thought more tactically in terms of recession-proof, no innovation, and I landed on commercial cleaning. Commercial cleaning has no innovation. It's going to be the same. It's always been the same, and it's absolutely necessary, especially after COVID. It is huge. It's a huge industry. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry.
So before we continue on with that, you said pick a niche,
Yes.
right? Touch on that a little bit. How important is it to find your niche when you're in this business?
It is the single most important thing, in my opinion, because you can do anything, but you cannot do everything. You can do anything, but you cannot do everything. And if your mind is all over the place, if you're looking for every single opportunity under the sun, you'll never pick one, right? A big realization for me was that every business makes money. You can make money in anything. You can make money in any industry whatsoever. And look around you, there's abundance all around us in every industry. It was really about getting clear on what you want and how you want to achieve the goals that you've set for yourself, and then going hard, put in the work.
Do you think that's why a lot of people don't find success, in this industry, is because they don't understand the importance of niching down? They're just all over the place, and they're like, oh, this doesn't work because I want to go after service industry, or I want to go after e-com.
Mm-hmm.
They don't understand the importance of finding your lane and what you're good at, what you're passionate about, and they're just all over the place. Do you think that's why a lot of people just fail in this business?
I think that's why a lot of people fail in general. Every entrepreneur that I talk to, or a lot, I should say, are doing a lot of things. And I'm a big fan of Alex Morgan, and he's a big fan of doing one thing very, very well. If you can dominate one marketplace, you can achieve any financial goals that you have. You can then take your money and pay people to invest in other things and pay people to spend their time on other things. But if you yourself in your startup season of your life are distracted, you'll always be in your startup season. You have to go hard on one thing for a period of time. And when you have an overflow of time, energy, and finances, that's when you can disperse your funds, disperse your energy, in my opinion.
I agree with that 1,000%. So found your niche, talking about commercial cleaning, you got into the service industry.
Yeah.
Just said that you closed a deal today.
Yeah.
Continue on.
So exciting.
About this deal.
Yeah, so a friend of mine that I network with in Carl Allen's group, she just closed a commercial cleaning business, and she needs help. She needs help in sales and marketing. So when I mentioned that I'm going after commercial cleaning, I'm consulting for equity. I'm not buying businesses completely. It wasn't really something that I wanted to do. I don't want to take on that whole job alone. And a lot of times when I was talking to sellers, they asked me, hey, what experience do you have in this industry? And I couldn't really say anything. I'm not a type of person who lies. So I would say, hey, listen, this is my background. This is how I can help you. And naturally, as I had those conversations, I realized consulting businesses is going to be more of a good fit for me right now in this season of my life. So Mona told me, she told me she closed on the business, and she came to me, which is beautiful because I've been loud about my expertise. She came to me and said, hey, I'd love to invite you into this for your creativity, your sales and marketing skills. I really feel like you could add a lot of value to the business. And we chatted about it, and we scheduled a meeting for next week to get clear on what it would look like. It's going to be cool.
So were they tied to this deal?
What's that?
Is Mona and them, were they tied to this deal?
Yeah. It's their deal. They partnered with Abraham on it. It's a cleaning business out of Atlanta.
So you pretty much found the deal for them?
No. They market for the deal. They closed on the deal, and then they came to me and said, hey, we want to give you equity in this company to help us with this piece. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, so just get super creative with this stuff and just make money all different.
Yes. Right. Yes. And that's why I'm like, guys, wholesale's great, don't get me wrong. And another reason why I transitioned is because I looked across the market of wholesaling real estate, and I couldn't really find anyone doing over 15 million a year. And 15 million a year is a big number, don't get me wrong, but it's a small number when you hear about businesses doing 100 million a year, 500 million a year, $1 billion a year. And I'm like, this is not the opportunity that's going to take me to the moon. And I always start with the end in mind, and my end in mind is billions and billions of dollars for a greater purpose. But regardless, wholesale was the wrong vehicle. It would only take me so far. Does that make sense?
That's one of the other reasons you transition.
Yes.
Profit margins are much bigger in this world, and you can get to your destination a lot faster financially
Yes.
when it comes to buying business. You know what was interesting is the last mastermind we were at, right? One of the first pieces of content that they showed when they're presenting is they show the comparison of buying a rental property and buying a business.
Mm-hmm.
They showed how the rental property would cash flow $500 a month. Buy one business, you could cash flow $5,000 to $10,000.
Yep. Probably more.
Exactly. And it just like, it fully caught my attention. I was like, okay, Justin, making good money in real estate wholesaling, but we need to start paying attention
Yes.
to this world right here. So I see why you transition. I totally agree. How you can just catapult yourself financially by buying businesses. It's so true. What type of challenges have you faced
Mm-hmm.
going through this whole journey?
In the buying businesses or entrepreneurship in
Just
general?
both, actually.
Okay, so buying businesses, I would definitely say my experience, and that's why I shifted to consulting for equity. Because the number one thing that you have to do when you're buying a business is build rapport. And one of the best ways to build rapport is talk about how you understand the industry and how you're connected to this type of industry, right? How you can help the seller and catapult their business. But for me, I had a single expertise, and that was sales and marketing from my real estate business. So that was the struggle that I ran into. And also understanding how to market to these folks, right? A lot of the people that we're targeting are baby boomers. So direct mail is something that I had to get familiar with, which is so ancient and weird to me. But regardless, it was something that I had to get familiar with. Cold email, like when you're wholesaling real estate, it's really, everyone talks about cold calling, agent outreach, text message. Those are like the three main things that you hear. Whereas in this business buying world, it's a lot more formal and it's a lot more traditional ways of marketing. So I had to adjust to that for
There
sure.
a lot of competition in this world.
No,
Found very little.
no, not many people are doing this. It's such a small amount of people who are doing this. And I think the other thing to realize is for the target seller that we're going for, it's a baby boomer, someone who's 60 years or older, and they started their business to feed their family, not to scale and exit. So when you come to them and they're tired of running their business, their kid doesn't want it, you have the leverage in the situation to structure terms and to buy it because you're presenting to them a solution that they weren't even aware of. Does that make sense? It's just like they didn't even consider that they could do this, and you're providing something for them that's going to allow them to cash flow and not be in the business.
So buying business is like a blue ocean.
Exactly. Yes.
Land of opportunity.
Yes, it's the land of opportunity, 100%.
So where do you see yourself going with this? Like, what are your immediate goals? What's your long-term goals when it comes to acquiring business, or are you just taking it, one day at a time?
I'm definitely not taking it one day at a time. I'm a visionary, so I always have goals. Right now, my immediate goal is to get a consulting business that's doing $100,000 a month.
Okay.
Yeah, so what that would look like is consulting on several companies in their sales and marketing and having equity in those companies. A lot of times the structure that I prefer to go with is, hey, I'm going to consult you for a fee, and I'm going to do so well that you invite me into your company. Similar to like Mona, I didn't consult her for a fee, but we've been friends for a while. She's seen the expertise that I have, and she invited me into her company. And from there, when you get equity and then you get a fee, it's very easy to build up that monthly cash flow as you acquire parts of a few businesses. So those are my immediate goals. In the long term, I'd like to do a roll-up acquisition, which is acquiring a couple companies and making them into a conglomerate, scale, and exit. One of the big things that I'm working on right now is my understanding of operations. So traction, E-Myth, I'm going through E-Myth mastery. Really understanding how to operate and scale a business is very important. Sales is important, don't get me wrong, but really when you understand scale, that's when you can do something really big.
What would you say is the most important skill set that you need to understand? Maybe not even skill set. What's the most important foundational thing that you need in order to be successful in what you're doing right now?
100% communication.
Okay.
If you can't communicate, you can't scale, you can't sell, you can't understand finances. You can't hire. You have to be able to communicate and kind of sell to get anywhere.
Now, is being an effective communicator the same thing as being an effective salesperson?
I feel like all good salespeople are effective communicators, but not all good communicators are good salespeople. But if you're a stellar salesperson, you absolutely understand how to have a good conversation, how to get a clear message across. You understand a sales process. It's like, it's part of it. It's like you can't make certain meals without certain ingredients, and you can't sell without effectively communicating.
What's out?
19.
19.
Yeah.
Accomplish all of this.
Yeah.
And what is it? It's February?
It's February.
You started back in November.
Yeah.
And you just closed a deal today.
Yes.
So within November, December, January, 4 months, you're 19. You had enough courage to jump out there. You said, F the wholesaling, I'm done. I'm getting into buying businesses because I see the profit margins. I can get to my destination financially a lot faster in this world than I can in the real estate world. Real estate's nice, right? You can park our profits into real estate to offset the taxes and have some cash flow there. But it's very impressive to see what you've done at such a young age. And I'm hoping all you young people are sitting back, taking notes and listening to this, because I'm 36 and she's inspiring me. I'm sitting here in my own head like, man, how come I haven't taken advantage of all this stuff that we've learned? And that leads into my next question. How important is mentorship? Because clearly you didn't just learn all this stuff through coming to these masterminds.
Right.
Clearly you're getting some coaching. Someone is teaching you these methods. Who is teaching you, and how important is mentorship in this industry?
Mentorship is invaluable. Every time someone asks me about, oh, this mentorship, this course, I will say, like, it's worth it. It's underpriced. Because you don't know what you don't know. Most people don't have a clue that they don't have a clue. So when you get exposed to information, you can't get unexposed. Whether you're using it now or using it later, or maybe you don't use it at all, you got exposed. And that exposure is invaluable. My mentors, Pace Morby, obviously, he's been huge. He's turned into a friend now. He's so cool. Carl Allen has been huge for me, pouring into me, inviting me to these events, inviting me into a space, having calls with me. It's been amazing. Marlon Johnson was my high performance coach for a period of time. Very, very stellar coaching, keeping me on track and accountable for my goals. And then some passive mentors that, I don't pay, but I listen to every day. Grant Cardone, Alex Hormozy, Gary Vee. These are people that I value their opinion. I value the way that they do business. I value their core values, So I always have a Alex Hormozy podcast on. Sometimes I'm listening to Grant Cardone, understanding how they think about money. It's very different than the common person walking around. And I feel like if I can adapt those beliefs, it's only a matter of time.
That's so important and crucial, because a lot of the people, they start this journey and they try to ride solo and figure it out themselves, and they end up hitting a wall and they just give up. And so many people just won't invest in themselves. Invest it in yourself. Every dollar
last year.
It's not gambling on yourself. Invest it in yourself and getting the results. So it just goes to show the importance of mentorship. But one thing I'm noticing about you got a very strong mindset.
Yeah.
Right? Where did that come from?
I would say that my mindset came from, as weird as it might sound, meditation. Yeah, I did a lot of meditation my senior year of high school, and especially during the pandemic, and it provided a lot of awareness around what's really important. And what I learned was that I have to live my life for myself, and that's going to include mistakes, and that's okay. And another thing that I realized over the course of the past 2 years is like a lot of people don't have it figured out, so be careful who you take advice from, But just understanding that failure is a part of the journey to success. Yeah, it's literally there to help you improve. Like, you don't fail until you quit. So understanding that, whether it came from people like Alex Hormozy or people like Grant Cardone, just reading it in a book, maybe the meditation, providing the awareness around what's really important, not caring about the perception of other people when you fail. That was a huge support for me in understanding, like, hey, this is what matters. Your mindset is important. How you think about things is important, and who you take advice from is important. If you take advice from negative people, you're probably gonna end up a negative person.
Yeah, 1000%. What would you say sets you apart from other young entrepreneurs? Because other young entrepreneurs, they're chasing the money, chasing the bag. You seem very disciplined. What learning and what you're wanting. What do you think is really setting you apart from the pack?
I believe that the difference between me and a lot of other entrepreneurs is the purpose. I know that my job here on this earth is to elevate the hearts and minds of entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs run the world, business owners run the world. So I know that if I can elevate the hearts of entrepreneurs, have them understand what it feels like to be and feel and give love, and have them thinking clean, not trying to hurt people, not trying to do anyone dirty, not trying to finesse, not trying to steal, the rest of the world will feel that ripple effect. So in order to speak to some of those high-level entrepreneurs, I just have to make money, right? This is a part of the process. And the other thing that's really important is a huge level of courage. Being scared and doing it anyway. Like, when I dropped out, when I knocked my first door, when I quit that job that I told you about, it's just a huge level of courage. Knowing that this isn't over until I die. Like, you wake up tomorrow, like, the game isn't over. You just got to keep playing. If you keep playing, you never lose.
So what would you say to the individual that is, just graduated high school, they don't want to go to college, and they're watching this podcast right now, and they're like, man, I would love to embark on my journey to getting into what Alexis is doing.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to that individual that's wanting to start their journey?
I would tell them to get quiet and make sure they understand what they want. Make sure it's not coming from an external source. I think that's so important. Making sure that it's what you want. What's unique about me now is that people ask me to speak to their kids a lot. And I tell them, listen, I'll speak to your kid, but I'm not going to tell them to do what I did. I'm going to tell them to do what they want to do, But I would tell that person listening to get quiet, make sure it's what you want. And the second thing, once you confirm, is to get mentorship. Yeah. Mentorship is the number one shortcut to where you want to go. Get around the right person, pay them, work for them, do whatever you got to do to get in the room with the person who is where you want to be.
Power proximity.
It's so real. Right? So real. Absolutely.
Take you a long, long way.
Yes.
Are you shooting content?
Yes. Of course. Content is so important. Social media is the new currency, I feel like. Attention is the new currency. Get on social media. Grant Cardone says this thing, your number one problem is obscurity. And it's true. People can't buy from you if they don't know who you are.
All right, y'all. Alexis came on. She dropped some bars. She gave a lot of game. She's only 19 years old, man. We're going to do a part 2. She's only been in this for 4 months, right?
Yep.
4 months. Imagine where she's going to be a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now. We're going to have to do a part 2, 3, 4, and 5, y'all. We're going to keep coming back with Alexis. Very impressive young lady. Alexis, thank you for all the game. I appreciate it. Y'all, please like, share, subscribe, comment your favorite part about this. Till then, I will see y'all in the next episode.
Peace.